let's go ahead and be tapping while we're chatting here. I love tapping while learning things because it helps us take in new information, because there's a part of us that resists new information, because new information can lead to change, which feels threatening. So the tapping sends this calming message to the nervous system and says it's okay. And we're better able to see whether there's really a threat or not. And so as we allow ourselves to recognize, oh, there's no threat here, this is actually beneficial to me, then we can really take on that new information. So it helps when we talk about things like greed. We allow ourselves to hold ourselves back from a lot of the abundance that's possible for us because we're so afraid of being greedy. And greed is defined as a selfish or excessive desire for more. So when we look at what we want to have more of, we can allow ourselves to ask, okay, is this selfish and is it excessive? And how do we define excessive? We often talk about greed in terms of money, or we might talk about our power and food and things like that, but to me it's all abundance, because everything is energy. So just like oxygen, or in a beautiful nighttime sky, there's all these stars, and that is abundance. And so we look up, and we don't usually say, oh, just look at a few of the stars, because to look at more stars would be greedy. We don't do that. Mostly. If you're doing that, please keep tapping, clear that out. And the reason that I like to tap about abundance is because when we have these false beliefs about having more, we limit ourselves from what's possible. And if we limit ourselves, we limit what we can share. If I think it's wrong to have more money, then I have to withhold my gifts and talents in order to not have the amount of money that I think would be greedy. When in fact, the amount of money that you might allow isn't greedy, because it's probably not selfish. And is it really excessive? So we want to look at, what is excessive? Well, it's excessive if it causes harm to you or others. If you're looking at that nighttime sky and looking at the stars, now if you're thinking, I need to see more stars, and you hurt yourself, straining your neck or something like that, when it comes from a sense of need, then you could say, all right, maybe this is excessive. But for you to say, I want to have the money to be able to enjoy my life, to be able to go and experience cool things, and it's not harming anybody to do so, then allowing yourself to look and say, that's not excessive. And if it's not taken away from anybody, then is it selfish? In most cases, it probably isn't. If you imagine that you've got a small group of people and you have one pizza, then it might be greedy to take all of the pieces of pizza, or so many that no one else can have what they want. Well, the now late, great Bob Proctor would say, if you want a bigger slice of the pie, imagine a bigger pie. Imagine a bigger pizza. And the fact is that the pizza is a lot bigger than most of us allow ourselves to imagine. And so we can allow ourselves a much bigger slice without taking away from anybody else. So it's really allowing yourself to think about these things when you think about what you want. And you might also, it might be helpful to look at other people that you think are greedy and tap as you consider, okay, are they being selfish? And are they being excessive? And there are times where that's absolutely the case, especially if they are objectively doing harm to other people in their quest for more money or more power or whatever it might be. But allow yourself to not be stopped by that in your own quest to allow yourself a more abundant life. Don't say, well, because these people are awful greedy people. And they're not even awful people, they're scared people. Greed comes from fear. It's a need. a need to prove yourself better than other people, a need to have something other people don't have. There's a lot of need and fear in there. But if you allow yourself to look at, okay, what do I want? And is it based on need? Is it based on fear? Or is it just based on, I would enjoy this, it's possible, and in the quest to have that, it helps you develop as a more full person. It helps you develop your skills and your gifts and your talents and perhaps share them more fully with the world. And that's why I make these videos, is so that you will help yourself be more free to share more of the awesomeness that is you with the world. So, taking full responsibility for your own well-being. Even though I have this fear of being greedy, I choose to love and accept myself. Even though I have this fear of being greedy, I choose to love and honor myself. Even though I have this fear of being greedy, I'm afraid that I'll be selfish. I'm afraid that I'll have more than I should have. And more often than not, I figure better safe than sorry that I allow myself a lot less than is possible. And even though I'm afraid of being greedy, I choose to deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself. And maybe anyone else who might be involved in these feelings. All this fear of being greedy. All this fear of being greedy. Because I was taught from a young age, don't be greedy. And there may have been certain circumstances where that objectively made sense. If there's only so much food or candy, and me taking more would mean someone else couldn't have more, that was probably a good lesson about greed. But I may have expanded that beyond where it needed to be. And I deprive myself of a lot of what's possible. I need to be in a state of self-denial in order to not be greedy. And I'm allowing myself to see where that may not be so. It's an abundant universe. It's very likely possible for me to have a lot more than I've been allowing myself, without it being selfish, without it being excessive, without it being harmful to me or others. And when it does feel excessive, what's the fear driving that? When I'm pushing myself beyond what I really want, what's the fear driving that? I choose to clear this sense of need. Because when I'm operating from a place of need, sometimes I make poor decisions. I'm allowing myself to process that. As I clear any false sense of need, I'm likely to clear any greed. I'm afraid other people will think I'm greedy. If I allow myself what I really want, people will think I'm greedy. People have all kinds of ideas about greed. I could not allow myself a small enough amount such that nobody would think that I'm greedy. Even if I'm allowing just enough to survive, there may be people who think I'm being greedy. So to limit myself based on other people's perceptions of greed means depriving myself of what's right. So I'm going to let them worry about their feelings about greed. If I know I'm not being greedy, I don't need to worry about what other people think. Other people's thoughts about me are really only worrisome if part of me is thinking the same thing. If I know it's not coming from greed, I can feel confident that other people might be wrong. And I don't need to worry about what they're thinking. I'm clearing this fear of being greedy so that I can allow myself what's possible, so that I can develop myself more fully and share that with the world. The more abundance I allow myself, the more I have to share with others. And I choose to feel really good about that. In body, mind, and spirit. Take a deep breath. And lather, rinse, repeat as necessary. There may be a lot of other thoughts that came up during that, so check out my other videos. If there's other stuff stopping you from being who you can be and having what you can have, I'm here for you. And even if it might appear greedy, I'd love to have you more subscribers, because the more subscribers there are, the more people find out about tapping, and I want to get the whole world tapping because it helps people experience a greater level of life and more peace. So if you haven't already, please subscribe. Thanks.